Open your cerebral cortex and shift your lobes into upper beta phase, because you are going to have Bitcoin knowledge transmitted directly into your vestibulocochlear. Your host at Bitcoin Knowledge is Trace Mayer, an early Bitcoin advocate since it cost $0.25, but this is not intended to be investment advice. A doctor of jurisprudence, but this is definitely not legal advice. And an investor in core cryptocurrency infrastructure, including Armory, BitPay, Kraken, and Nitagio, but this is not a recommendation of those services. Here, you get fed via direct mind download with pure and free Bitcoin knowledge.
Welcome everybody to a new episode of the Bitcoin Report. And today we have a guest, and he's our guest for the second time. It's Trace Mayer. He's an early investor in a lot of Bitcoin startups, investments, and the money side of Bitcoin. So welcome, Trace. How are you?
Oh, wonderful to be back with you again. And we've had a lot going on this year.
Yeah, and that's why I want to talk to you, because it was a great year, of course. There was a lot of drama, a lot of forks, a lot of camps, a lot of everything, and on all network effects there was something rumbling.
Well, that's for sure. And I think that we contributed to the discussion about why to hire Bitcoin, and now we're starting to see more of the importance of getting rid of the smell of Bitcoin. I think it was either on your podcast or Paul Butnick's where we kind of really started talking about that. And so it's important, we're going to need to do that. And hopefully 2017 will be the year where we can get it all pushed through.
Yeah, of course. We have had a lot of fun also this year. And I think the biggest issue I think was like the year before the block size discussion. I guess that's the main drivers of the community at this moment, unfortunately. But I think we are really close now to the solution and to merging the camps even. What is your opinion about it?
Yeah, well, we have a solid proposal that's actually ready to be activated with SegWit. So, anybody who wants to really scale Bitcoin, they have to be in favor of SegWit in order to do that. And there's several reasons for that. One, it fixes transaction mailability. Two, we make more efficient use of the current block size. Three, it lays the foundation for off-chain scaling, things like Lightning Network. And so all of these things are absolutely just incredibly important for the ecosystem and for the industry as a whole. And they're not really any downsides to it. And so, people can whine and complain about not getting their way, but at the end of the day, all we can do is make a decision with code that is written and ready to run. And guess what? We've got code. It's written. It's ready to run. Let's get it activated.
Yeah, it's heavily tested, of course. It's,
heavily tested, thoroughly reviewed. A lot of it came from Dr. Woola and from Luke Jr., longtime core contributors. So it's not like we're dealing with untested code from no-name developers who are don't have a proven track record, haven't done anything, haven't proven themselves. No, this is real code. It's ready to go. So, put up or shut up type of situation.
It is. And I think we all know which groups we are talking about, of course, and which benevolent leaders are in the space. But I'm not naming names here, of course.
Well, it is funny that I guess Mike Hearn, he had his hernia and whiny rage quitted over all of this, and he said that he sold all his Bitcoins. And, Bitcoin's up over 100% since that happened. So maybe more people who have caused a lot of drama will sell all their Bitcoins and leave, and the price can go up some more.
Yeah, there was a lot of rage quitting also this year, of course, with Mr. Allaire from Circle. I think it was a rage quit. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, especially when you read the support post on his on circle.com, in the particular emoticons that were used and everything, it's kind of like, really, I expected a little bit more. Just because you can't contribute to an open source project because the code that you write is just not good enough, uh, that's not. It's just not a very professional way to behave. Um, so I thought that was kind of interesting. It's kind of sad to see a company and talent like Circle has leaving the ecosystem, but I don't think they'll be missed. If
Yeah,
that's the question.
was there really much engineering going on the background?
Not really in the background. I use Circle. I bought lots
Yeah,
of Bitcoin through Circle. So I mean, I like the service that they provided and everything. But they're a layer on top of the protocol, and super Bitcoin is everybody's here always to fix it, and
yeah.
you got to be really good to be able to fix it. And don't get your feelings hurt if you're not really good, and so your stuff doesn't get merged in.
No, no. But do you think they're gonna use the transport layer from Bitcoin to do transactions? So to do dollar transactions, and underneath, they use Bitcoin to transfer it?
I don't know.
It should be good for intercontinental transfers, of course.
Yeah, perhaps, but I mean, they're really tied in with the banking system. I don't think they have any idea what they're doing.
Yeah, because if they didn't talk about blockchain, if they didn't talk about blockchain or Bitcoin, they never could get the VC money in the first place, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, they raised all the money, but it was totally on a
On a
Bitcoin
promise,
play.
just like
Y-
R3, you know.
Yeah, just like R3, we're seeing R3 implode also,
Yeah,
and yeah,
R3
so
is
it's
the number of the banks that are still there. It's three now.
yeah, and I actually rub shoulders with a lot of the R3 people because whenever I go to New York, we go to a lot of the same events and stuff, and
Yeah,
so that's what I think we've seen a big shakeout of a bunch of flim-flams and a bunch of people that really are know nothing, no doers. They aren't executing, and they've taken a lot of money, but they haven't executed and they haven't delivered results and they haven't delivered code. And if all they can do is whine and complain and throw mud at the wall, and that's the degree of value that they can add, hey, guess what? You're not going to raise any more money. You're not going to be included in the development process. So just, you see that door over there? Get out it and leave.
yeah.
We don't need you around.
No, and we see it a lot with a lot of companies this year. I think we are nearing the end of the blockchain bubble. So the magic blockchain hype, and we see everybody turning back to Bitcoin.
Yeah,
What do you think?
and all these people that have been paying developers to work on blockchain stuff or to work on altcoins for that matter, they're really just training a bunch of future Bitcoin
Yeah,
developers.
it is.
So it's like, by all means, put more money into R3, put more money into companies like Circle, because you'll figure out that what you were doing wasn't really the right play, but you did contribute lots of resources that help those of us who do know what we're doing. And I actually I called this a lot whenever people would ask me about R3 or about some of the stuff. I'd kind of give a fairly diplomatic answer, but now that it's all shaking out, it's
Yeah,
kind of
you
like,
can be
well,
blunt now.
now I can be kind of a little bit more
Yeah.
blunt, because I mean, you don't want to step on people's toes or hurt people's precious little snowflake
No, no.
feelings. But we're moving into an era now where you got to put up or shut up,
Yeah.
and that's just how it's going to be. And I think that the banks are, they've kind of been taken for a ride, especially by the R3 people. So they're going to be a lot more skeptical, hopefully, and judicious with how they allocate their capital around.
Yeah. Do you think banks are going to create solutions on a really small scale on blockchain, or is it just shared spreadsheets? for them?
Well, that's an excellent question. No, I do think that there are serious projects that will be blockchain related. A lot of them will not be Bitcoin, particularly. But the counsel that I have given to the people who are working and building on a lot of this stuff is you need to stay close to Bitcoin and you need to make your system as interoperable, so the security and interoperability as possible with Bitcoin. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to get too far down that road and not be able to scramble back to the safety of Bitcoin. And so, that's some of the counsel I've been giving quite a few of these projects that have been getting worked on. And, hopefully it'll be followed. It takes a little bit more effort to, go that extra mile, do it the right way, be interoperable with the blockchain as opposed to just a blockchain. But, we're building this stuff out, and when these Bitcoin ETFs get approved and launched, and the CME's price feed has been up and running for several months and several years without issues, and so we can start issuing a lot more financial instruments on top of or related to Bitcoin specifically. I mean, Jeremy Allaire said it. There is no other project that has attained the liquidity, the security, and the scalability as the Bitcoin blockchain. And we're watching Ethereum have hard fork after hard fork and screw up after screw up. We see R3 implode. We see Mr. Hernia just blow out his intestines all over the place. I mean, it's really kind of it's just a weeding out of the B rate and the C rate players. And guess what? The A rate players, they're building Bitcoin. That's where all the legends are at. Brian Cohen, Adam Back, Peter Woola, all the legends are working on Bitcoin.
Super programmer.
The superstars. Why? Because that's where the hardest questions are to solve. If you want to climb Mount Everest, you come work on Bitcoin. If you want to go play around with a little 1,000-foot hill or in the kiddie pool, you want to play around in the kiddie pool, go play around on Ethereum or one of these other things. But if you want to surf onto Hatchapu, you come work on Bitcoin stuff. That's where the hard problems are at.
Yeah. About R3, of course, has open sourced their Corda software.
Well, any of the developers that I pay or in companies that I've funded, you better not be reading that crap, because it's wasting the time and the money of us investors and developers.
Who's for that? Nobody is going to.
Why would anybody?
For banks' internal systems to make more fluent. That's the only.
Yeah, there's no reason. Just because something's open source, there's no reason to read it. No. There's no reason to work on it. And like I said, any developers that work for companies that I've funded, I will be very disappointed if you're wasting time on that type of garbage.
Yeah. And more VC money is talking like this, that at this moment, I guess. Now all the
because they've got burned. They got burned by people like Mike Hernia and Professor Bitcoin.
How can Vitalik? He has to tell. He has to give some update about his projects. How did he shilling that?
Yeah, that's an excellent. That's an excellent question, but we're on the Bitcoin report, right? And it is interesting to note that the market cap of Ethereum seems to be evaporating away quite a bit. So, I think that there is, how people allocate their money speaks volumes about what they really believe in. And Bitcoin price is going up.
You think market cap is really the trust in the coin? The market,
I think there,
or is it because there's a lot of markets in play?
No. There's two big factors. One is market cap. The other is liquidity. How much daily volume is getting turned over? If you need to sell $50 million worth of ethers, can the market handle that in a single day? You want to sell $50 million of Bitcoin in a day, you might hit the price a couple bucks, right?
Yeah.
But just because you have a high market cap doesn't mean you have high liquidity. And we've got tons of liquidity in Bitcoin, not just on exchanges, but off exchange with merchant processors, with people getting paid in Bitcoin who are independent contractors,
over the counter, of course,
with over the counter trading, with like local Bitcoins and stuff. So, I mean, Bitcoin's got a medium cap market cap, medium cap type stock, but it's got liquidity of a large cap. When you're looking at the daily liquidity volumes, and that's what really matters, because if you're with an experimental little project like Ethereum or Dash or Steam, I think Steam's kind of an interesting little experiment, but like there's no volume there. You want to sell $5 million worth of Steam, like you're going to tank the price
to zero.
To zero, but you're not going to see that in Bitcoin. And when these ETFs come out, I mean, you'll be able to move hundreds of millions of dollars in and out of Bitcoin every day, and that presents so many more potential use cases for the network and the protocol. So I don't see any other projects out there that are garnering the liquidity, let alone the security and the and the other aspects that we have with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So the Winklevoss brothers are creating an ETF. They got a new picture on their website, so
they have a logo now.
It should be happening in a couple of days. But I think I don't know if you think the same, but it's the first ETF, big ETF for Bitcoin. So when this one is being accepted, it's paving the way for all the other Bitcoin ETFs. Maybe could it be the case because it's less? It's taking so long.
Yeah. So the regulators, they're always slow to get stuff done, and I think particularly at the SEC, they want to make sure that they're really doing a lot of the due diligence in terms of protecting investor funds. And a big issue is determining what the price of Bitcoin is. And so I think with the CME, a large reputable institution having this Bitcoin price index that they've come up with, once we see that operating for several months and not having any problems, then the other thing is also investor choice. And so there's the SolidX ETF and the Winklevoss ETF. And they're both, kind of following very similar paths, and they're in terms of the timing and the scheduling and the rulemaking and all of that. And so one will be listed on the NYSE, the other on the BATS exchange, and that'll give investors opportunity and choice between the two. So I think that, the SEC is kind of looking at this and being like, okay, we get this price index out for a while, then we can approve two different ETFs and let the investors do whatever they want to do, but at least give them the option to start investing in this particular asset. And I know some investors, I know a hedge fund manager, he wants to buy $100 million worth of Bitcoin ETF as soon as it comes out.
For his customers.
For his fund, yeah. So I think there's some big money on the sidelines looking to come into the Bitcoin space when they can do it through an instrument like that.
Yeah, it's not possible to do that because you have to go to the exchange now, of course, and it's too much hassle to buy such big amounts of Bitcoin. It's not possible.
Yeah, and how are you going to secure it? And I mean, like if I was running a hedge fund, I wouldn't want the liability of securing the assets. So I mean, these ETFs are going to add value to a particular class of investors.
Yeah, and so. All right, and security. So when they lose the Bitcoin, you get your money back. That kind of deals.
Well, I don't think you get your money back, but so, I mean that's going to be their value proposition, is going to be their security.
Yeah.
And auditing, and I mean the ETFs are going to make a ton of money off of fees. They're going to make a lot of money off of fees. I mean, look at the gold ETF. That thing's got billions and billions of dollars in it. They're making money hand over fist in terms of fees with that.
And paying premiums, of course.
And sometimes you have premiums and stuff like that. So I mean, like the ETF it'll add solid value to a particular class of investor, and you'll make good money operating one. So it's a sustainable business model. So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for the ETF
Yeah.
approval process and when that'll happen.
But you cannot give a time frame because it's such a special one. So
It's up
it's
to the
hard to.
regulators. It's up to the regulators.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, so yeah.
All right. The currency wars, the war in cash. How do you see that? Of course, the war in cash in India and Venezuela. All the paper money is gonna be burned. It's gonna be nothing, no value. Uh, how does that plays into the Bitcoin into the Bitcoin price?
Yeah, it just makes Bitcoin more attractive of an asset to put
More than
capital
gold?
into.
More than gold?
Yeah, because it's more portable. You can move it around and move it around in smaller denominations so much more easily than gold or silver. I mean, I went to the Latin American Bitcoin conference. The Venezuelans, the Brazilians, the Argentines, they're loving Bitcoin. It's growing huge because it solves a lot of problems they have in terms of portability, especially with trade with China. And now we see what's happened in India, banning $7.50 notes and $15 notes. I mean, that's insane. 86% of the cash balances. I mean, we're talking all the working capital on a lot of these businesses. The working capital that you have to like make payroll and everything. So it's a tremendous disruption to the underlying economy in India. And it's not like they can just come out with a new note, right? Like that damage is done permanently for an entire generation. Like, why trust them ever again? And so for a lot of programmers in India, for a lot of these businesses, and now for a lot of the people, they can trust Bitcoin. There's not a single example of Bitcoin just making all your Bitcoins worthless.
Yeah.
I mean, so like, why trust Modi and why trust the Indian central bank and why trust their fiat currencies? There's no reason to trust them relative to trusting Bitcoin. As the Winklevi put it, like we're going to put our trust in math and computer science as opposed to politicians. So, I think that this war on cash, it really just is great marketing for Bitcoin.
It's a perfect storm, I guess.
They're committing. I mean, the politicians are in effect committing suicide with their product. It's really a horrible thing to do to your brand. Like why? Why? Because you got to look at fiat currencies; those are brands. Why do you trust those brands? And you do something like that, man, you just erode the trust big time. Well, the paper money, like, it has value because people transfer it around and it has this legal tender quality to it. But once you remove the legal tender quality by fiat, just by decree overnight, as a complete surprise to everybody, like, that it's not like a bank failing. A bank failing is really bad, but this is even more fundamental because you're decreeing as worthless the underlying unit that the banks are then built on top of.
And
so it's even it's worse. It's even worse than a bank run, because it causes a currency crisis. And so I think it's just going to drive a lot of behavior into something people can trust, something like Bitcoin.
Yeah. And what do you think? Why are they doing it? Is it to of course to have more control? They hate fiat paper money, of course. Is that the main reason to get more control, or to negatively infect criminals because they are using cash?
Well, I mean, obviously they're attacking privacy and fungibility. They're attacking the autonomy of the individual. Why would they want to do stuff like that? Probably because they need to. They're broke, because they need to steal money from somebody. Well, of course they're going to put out the propaganda. Oh, we're fighting money laundering, or we're fighting the special snowflakes or whatever it is. But I mean, at the end of the day, they do stuff like this because they're out of money. They do. And so it's like, oh, so you're going to make all our money worthless, and then you're going to issue new fancy pieces of paper and say those have money. Well, I mean, it's just tough because people have options now. They can use Bitcoin if they want to. They can use Dash. There now are so many different options that people can use that I don't think it's very wise to take for granted one's brand with their fiat currencies, to just assume that people will use them.
IRS is chasing now Coinbase to give the information from their users. We all saw that coming, of course, because Coinbase is heavily under government control in the first place already. So how do you see that rolling out on other exchanges? Because I think this is the first try. How do you see that?
Yeah, I mean, it appears to just be a fishing expedition. They want to just get a ton of data. I mean, what are they going to do with the data? Most of the Bitcoin users probably have losses during 2014 and 2015 because the price was going down. Additionally, how much money is the IRS actually going to be able to collect from some of this stuff? I mean, you're dealing with a bunch of people that might have bought one Bitcoin here or half a Bitcoin there. Yeah. And so, plus, I mean, people are entitled to losses, so, I mean, that's not going to be any fun if, the IRS comes and then it's like, oh, well, actually, you were right. I didn't claim all the losses that I'm entitled to. And so the IRS needs to write me a check, which is actually how I think my personal situation works. Because, I was looking over some of my records after this Coinbase news, and it appears that I forgot to take a significant deduction. So I got to figure out, man, do I amend the return, or I mean, I'm going to have to talk with a CPA about it or something in order to figure out but I think there are a lot of people in that situation, they've tried to be tax compliant, but it does get kind of complicated. And so the IRS has to come in and assert how much they think you owe. I just don't know that it's worth the time and money to try on the IRS's side to actually try and get anything. So they might be getting the data, and they're smart. They know this. That's how they get their bonuses and stuff, is based on how much money they actually get into their coffers and how quickly they get it. So I think they might just be trying to get a lot of data, because Coinbase also does merchant processing. So they might be trying to figure out the usage patterns and figure out
the endpoints.
Yeah, the endpoints and the usage patterns, and try to figure out how they could feasibly tax this stuff. Yeah, so I mean, it remains to be seen. If anybody's had a gigantic, they moved a whole bunch of Bitcoin into Coinbase and sold it and got a wire transfer. Hopefully you've accounted for that properly. But I think for the average Coinbase user, it might just be not even worth the hassle for the IRS to go after them individually, because one, there are all these losses, but two, just the cost in terms of trying to ferret out exactly how all this stuff's supposed to be offset.
Multiple addresses, of course, and everything is spread.
And there's multiple addresses. It's really becomes quite a nightmare, which is one reason why I personally don't use Bitcoin for day-to-day stuff on a very regular basis. I use my American Express Business Platinum card, and I get my rewards miles and stuff like that, is because I just don't want to kind of have to deal with all of this hassle.
You are in a position, and me also, that we don't need to use Bitcoin as a form of living. There are in other countries that they need to use it. And,
I mean, we get dollars or euros from our employer. We're able to live, that life, Mr. Anderson,
fiat
right?
life.
the fiat life, and have all of our records kind of in order there. But if you're a poor person in Africa or South America, and there's not like any other option, and you're not taxed on it, then IRS stuff is irrelevant for that particular situation.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned a lot are the network effects of Bitcoin. What are the network effects that are playing out the hardest at this moment and this time of our life?
I think so we've got speculation, merchants, consumers, miners/security, developers, financialization, and then world reserve currency. I think the big ones playing out right now are with the world reserve currency, SEC approval of the ETF. The developers rolling out SegWit is a massive, massive deal. I think we're seeing a lot more consumers just move into using Bitcoin. Speculation is, actually not that hot right now. I mean, people are,
not
the
Bitcoin,
prices.
Yeah, there are prices to altcoins now.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's playing with altcoins. The Bitcoin price is inching up. But when you look at the long-term trend from a speculative point of view, our previous I like to look at it from the 200-day moving average, because that filters out all the daily noise, right? And the previous major run went from $100 million 200-day moving average to an $8 billion 200-day moving average over 18 months or whatever. And it when it started, it was increasing about $1 million a day, which and maybe a little bit less, but that was about 0.7%. Currently our 200-day moving average market cap is increasing at 0.23%. But we're starting from a much larger base. We're starting from billions of dollars instead of 100 million. We're adding about $25 million a day to the 200-day moving average. We're like $9.8 billion 200-day moving average. Okay,
it's bizarre. That's bizarre.
That's 25% higher than the previous all-time high on the 200-day moving average. In other words, we're in completely uncharted territory in terms of an all-time high price. I mean, like, and yet nobody's really talking about like this, and because everybody looks at like $784 and they're like, oh, that's all-time high is like $1,200. It's like, no. You got to look at market cap. You got to look at liquidity. You got to look at fundamental growth, and prices are set at the margin. And there are a lot more people just using Bitcoin on the margin for purchases and everything. I think this bull run could be explosive. 6 months ago, I was on a podcast, threw out a $3,000 price. And I think that might even be pretty darn conservative. So, we're looking at Bitcoin being larger than all but about 61 currencies in the world. And we're looking at it having an inflation rate lower than all but 20 currencies in the world. So we've got a very small supply. We've got skyrocketing demand. We've got prices set at the margins. We've got all-time financial strength in terms of 200-day moving average and liquidity. We've got 150 plus reputable exchanges all over the world. We've got massive technological development happening with our developers. We have ASICs getting deployed and commoditized at the lower end of 16 nanometers. We've got
ETFs coming out soon, maybe.
ETF coming out soon. In other words, all seven of these networks.
Bullish. You want to say that? It's bullish.
Yeah, it's definitely bullish. But in other words, all seven of these network effects are going at full throttle right now. Full throttle, like all seven of them are taking off. And so, I mean, what's going to compete with that? What's on the horizon to compete with that? I don't see anything on the horizon. I mean, we've seen Hernia. That's not going to compete with it. We've seen Corda. We've seen Ethereum. We've seen Dash. We've seen nothing on the horizon to compete with Bitcoin.
Do you think there's going to be something on the horizon eventually?
No, because if there was going to be, it would be here.
Yeah, because every day
I
new
mean,
coins
I mean
are going
they
to
they
exist.
they gave it a shot with R3. They gave it a shot with
Yeah,
Ethereum. Yeah, guess what? They screwed up because they're just
yeah.
not good enough.
Yeah,
You
the
know,
blockchain.
they don't have the security, they don't have the model that Bitcoin has, and they failed. You know, I mean, anybody who, I mean, look at those projects. Can anybody with a straight face seriously say that Ethereum and R3 are not failures? I mean, it's just a matter of time before the people sitting on their long Ethereum positions sell out, you know, because they want to
Yeah,
be first to sell and get the money as
yeah.
opposed to last.
Just like
You know, so how many
Zcash,
true believers do they
just like
have?
Zcash. Zcash is slowing down. The price is
Yeah,
going
it's
down, and you see
yeah.
the back holders. So the first, they are going to sell because this is where this ends.
Yeah, I mean, look at the Bitcoin Ethereum pair, like trading the
Yeah.
Bitcoin Ethereum pair. If you can go long Bitcoin and short Ethereum,
Mm.
that's been a wonderful play the last
Yeah.
couple months. And you know, so and then it you know, that kind of increases further stress on the short side.
Yeah.
So it, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But yeah, I just don't really see a competitor on the horizon that's gonna be able to arrive here soon enough.
No.
You know, because you get these ETFs approved, and it's on like Donkey
Yeah.
Kong.
Skyrocketing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then that further develops even more network effects.
Yeah. It's amazing. I,
It's beautiful,
it's
beautiful to watch.
glad our name is still the Bitcoin report. I didn't sell out to the blockchain report.
Well, Bitcoin's making
And,
blockchain great
but
again.
yeah, a lot of people changing their names to blockchain, but I still hold on. I think this is the blockchain is just a bubble, and even blockchain without cryptocurrencies, it's too weird for me.
Well, it's hard. Where do you get the security model?
Yeah.
Why is it trustworthy? Is it immutably persistent? You know, immutable persistence is, I think, a big deal.
So
I wish I could have shorted R3.
yeah, short all altcoins, I guess, but they have no coins. So what can we do?
I know. I just, man, I would have loved to have been able to short that.
I think, yeah. I think the Hernia did not sell his coins. He just want to make money on the quick money on the blockchain hype, and I think eventually come back to Bitcoin because he's not crazy. He was at the front of the Bitcoin revolution, right?
Well, I don't know how welcome he would be back
No,
here.
that's another story. But everybody can build on the blockchain, of course, on the Bitcoin blockchain. So maybe
by themselves.
Yeah,
by themselves.
With a couple of banks. I don't know. We will see how it plays out. How long do you think it takes that SegWit is going to be activated? Do you have any idea?
I had no idea, but you know, I'd like to see it activate February, March timeframe.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand you want to get everything in order if you're on the mining side of stuff and make sure you're not going to lose any money.
No, do you think the unlimited drama is going to be any problem? I don't think it is, but
I mean,
first minions.
no, I mean, any real Bitcoiner should be in favor of SegWit, and like, there's not any reason to block it. You know, because I mean, you're blocking a fixed to transaction mailability that could have Lightning Network. I mean, we're talking about, we need privacy and fungibility, and any real Bitcoiner seriously values privacy and fungibility. Yeah. We need to make, you know, all these startups, all these blockchain startups that got money to do AML and KYC and spy on people so they could give it all to the IRS. We need to make those investments worthless.
Nimblewimble.
Yeah, and we need Mimblewimble, and we need CoinJoin and CoinSwap and confidential transactions and Lightning Network. and this all starts with SegWit. You know, we need SegWit to really do that. So anybody who's standing in the way of not activating SegWit, they want to seriously harm the members of the Bitcoin community by not enabling the Bitcoin community to have these privacy and fungibility tools at their disposal. Yeah. You know, so everybody who's listening to this should understand, this is about your ability to have privacy and fungibility on the blockchain. And anybody who stands in the way of SegWit does not want you to have that power. They want you to be able to be spied on. And that's dangerous. That's very dangerous. And that's not what our core ethos in the Bitcoin community is about. We're about financial independence, privacy, fungibility. And we need SegWit to be able to really take those principles to the next level.
Yeah, I agree on that. We are Team SegWit. And and a lot of our friends are, and I think it's just a couple of people that don't understand that, but I think the majority is already in favor of SegWit.
Yeah, and I've talked to a lot of people in the ecosystem about it. I've talked to a lot of our miners, and they all seem to be, very cognizant of the importance of SegWit and getting it rolled out. And so, we need to roll it out gently. We need to roll it out in a timely and a methodical manner. It doesn't just need to be rolled out overnight.
No.
We want to make sure that all the wallets are kind of up to speed and ready for it. But what we don't need is we don't need people trying to use it as a weapon to further their own little individual petty political drama, because if they want to try and hold the entire Bitcoin community hostage and not give the entire Bitcoin community the tools for privacy and fungibility, well, that's part of the reason we have a 95% consensus threshold on it.
Yeah,
because we're gonna,
of course.
We're gonna vote for this as a community. Like, do we want privacy and fungibility? Then we'll vote for SegWit. If we don't, then we won't vote for SegWit.
And then we have a gold use for a longer time, I guess, because the fee market. I think we talked a lot about the ongoing the market effects and network effects and the drama. We talked about everything, and we will see what 2017 brings. Do you have special plans for the next year in the Bitcoin space?
Not too much. I'm working with Kraken. We rolled out Glidera. Kraken's just rocking and rolling, doing a great job. BitPay's doing a great job too. My Bitcoin Knowledge podcast is
you have to make more. You have to make more. It's a little
I need to
little on the
I actually I've got a bunch of interviews rolling out right now, and I'm going to Anarchapulco with Jeff Berwick in February, so I'll get some more interviews there. It's
nice.
It's just, and I've been watching the downloads on like your show, and we got a lot. Our community is growing. It's growing really well and really
when
big.
The price moves, our viewers we have more views. This is really really great.
Price goes up and everybody runs back to the Bitcoin community.
And I'm working in a Bitcoin company myself now. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Hopefully get paid in Bitcoin.
No, my wife is against it still, but my wife is against the Bitcoin payments. She said you can buy it with your money, but not being paid is it's too dangerous. So.
Well, of course, like that bonus that you got, you didn't get, right? You'll be able to buy her some nice flowers and chocolates.
Yeah, I will do that. But but it's great to work in the community. So now my whole life is Bitcoin. I love it. So it's great to do that.
Yeah, it's great to see. This rising price is like a breath of fresh air. It's lifting the tide. Everybody's benefiting from it. In 2017, it's gonna rain big time. It's gonna just rain all over our Bitcoin community, help everybody grow a lot more.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for 2017, and I do want to get more interviews of a lot of these CEOs out. What everybody's working on and what everybody's doing and all that cool stuff.
Great, looking forward to it, and I think we will talk in a year or two to talk about the last gossip and the last drama and who dropped out and the rage quit. So it's gonna be great.
Yeah, having fun. Well, it's been great. Sorry for any technical difficulties on both of our ends, but I think it worked out well.
I think that the viewers don't see there was any problem. I make sure.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Trace, for being here. And for the viewers, thank you for watching, and see you next episode of the Bitcoin Report. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
Be sure to get a copy of the free Bitcoin Guide at freebitcoinguide.com. Got a question or suggestion? Record your voice at bitcoin.kn. Don't be shy. To help the show, share bitcoin.kn with friends, post about it on Reddit, and otherwise spam the interwebs. Your iTunes comments and 5-star reviews are very important to us. Please continue tuning in to the Bitcoin Knowledge Podcast, where we release interviews with the top people in the Bitcoin world. Now take some choline and let that Bitcoin knowledge consolidate.